I believe we are live. If you're here, let me know if you have any questions. For those tuning in after the live, let me just move this real quick. For those tuning in after the live, this is a live Q&A I do every week. Usually Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard, and it's for me to answer any questions that you all may have or anything like that to help you guys out in your business. So any questions you got, put them in the comments section, even if you're watching this after. Just announcing that we're on. Perfect. Got an excellent connection, which is good. Got wires going everywhere. Awesome. If you're here, let me know. Let me know if you're here and if you can hear me. How are you all doing today? Yes. Awesome. Glad to have you here. Do you have any questions regarding real estate or wholesaling? Let me know. And we are live, so be sure to jump in, ask any questions you have for wholesaling, virtual wholesaling, whatever it may be, real estate related, and I'll do my best to answer it. YouTube. We're live right now on YouTube. Perfect. How y'all doing? You having a busy and productive Friday? I know I am. I got a action-packed Friday going on right now. I got a bunch of leads that I'm in the process of deep prospecting. For those who don't know, it's where I try to get a hold of the owners who maybe, like, if you pull a list and you can't find the owner's information, whether it's for a phone number or something like that, and you skip trace it and you still can't find that information, those are the people I'm targeting right now, because a lot of times those are overlooked. And I've gotten 3 out of 3 calls so far, and so I was able to find 3 out of the 3 people's phone numbers, and 3 out of 3 want to sell. So right now the conversion's 100%, and I've seen amazing results from it. Is driving for dollars good? Yeah. So I have a deal machine link in the bio in almost all of my videos, where you can get free deal credits for it. The deal machine app, which is the driving for dollars app, and you can use those credits to get free skip traces as well as free mailers just for signing up. And I think driving for dollars is one of the best ways to get started. And if you want to do that virtually or locally, I have a video on that in my channel, and I strongly recommend checking that out. It goes step by step on how to do it virtually. And driving for dollars, I mean, physically is kind of self-explanatory. You drive around, look for broken properties, you put it into the app, and the app lets you know, hey, you can skip trace it or send off the mailers. Gabriel said, productive so far. I did not sleep until 5 a.m. putting out bandit signs. Dude, that's awesome. I remember when I first got started and I was putting out bandit signs, I would go to all the populated areas and put out bandit signs, like right on the stop signs, the stop lights. And I put it all out in the mall, and it was right around Christmas time, so I knew a ton of people were going to be driving by it. So that might be a good idea. Put it out towards the outlets, the malls, frequently stop lights. Like the places that are hard to get out of your car and put up a sign are the best places, because not a lot of competition is going to be there, and not a lot of people are going to stop to take it down. I have a $50K deal in escrow from driving for dollars. Boom, right there. That's proof right there. That answers your question, that driving for dollars is good. Yeah, my second deal I ever did came from driving for dollars. It wasn't $50K, but it was $7,500, and I didn't do anything. I actually had a mail person go out and send me all the vacant properties that she came across, and this was one of them. So I just sent a mailer with a click of a button using that app, and boom, I had a deal. So do you recommend getting notaries, getting, I'm not sure if that's saying notaries for boots on the ground. Do you recommend getting notaries for boots on the ground? What do you mean by that? Do you think I should be wholesaling? Do you think I should wholesale code violations? Yes. Code violations, if you pull it directly from the county, is one of the best lead sources because you have to clean that data, which means it's not all there in order to find the information. And anytime you have to put extra work into a list, into finding an owner, anything like that, you're going to have a lot less competition and a greater barrier to entry, which means usually that list is going to be more fruitful for that reason. And that's what I'm focusing on, all these, county lists and everything right now. And so I think that's a really good idea. Code violations. I just cold called about 300 people, or my VA did. We didn't get anything from the code violation list yet, but we're coming across a lot of deals that require me to go the extra step to find their information because they came back through skip trace and nothing came back as a result. And so again, I'm doing that deep prospecting, finding their numbers. And like I said, 3 out of 3 so far that I found their number and cold called, I found the relatives, and the relatives gave me their number, and they're all interested in selling. So I have 2 offers I have to make today. One of them is they're asking retail. So I can still make an offer, but I'm at the point now where I pretty much know how things are going to go once I call them. And this person's pretty set in their ways. School Me said, it's my second deal also for $50K. Dude, that's so awesome, man. I would love to have you on the channel and do an interview. If you haven't already, my IG is up in the top left corner. You can hit me up, and I would love to get you on an interview and talk through that and maybe provide some value to some people. When is mentorships opening back? That's a great question. So I have all my students. They actually went through the entire course. So right now, they're in the process of, implementing everything that I taught them. Everybody at their own pace equally. And so I am actually thinking about opening it up next month. This is unconfirmed, but I'm brainstorming right now. I'm very selective on who I allow. I had over 50 interviews last time for my, my course, and I only selected and allowed in 3 people. So, and now it's 4. But I will definitely announce that when I open it back up. And it's not so much a mentorship, it's a course where I provide, my systems and processes on a silver platter in video format, and I do live Q&As like this, but for my private group. So you have access to me, and sometimes I do one-on-one coaching calls, absolutely included. So it's for those who, who don't want to go out and watch the videos, take the time to find the information that they're looking for, and to spend all that time and energy doing that. They want everything handed to them on a silver platter, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually what I did, and that's what that's for. So obviously it's going to come at a cost, but you're going to have everything for you, and basically after your first deal, it covers the entire course. What lists are you hitting? So I use a system called RDI Sift. It's really phenomenal system, and I wish I would have joined or had it earlier on. But basically what it does is it manages all your leads, and from there I can just pull a high equity list, put it in the REI Sift, and REI Sift will tell me which ones of those are absentee owners and which one of those are vacants, and then I can stack those lists. So just by pulling a simple high equity list, I already have 3 categories of leads, and it does all that for me. And so for that reason, I do a lot of high equity. But right now I'm focusing on like the code enforcements and just, cleaning my data as far as the ones that never came back with anything for skip tracing, and I'm targeting those right now while my VA cold calls the big list of high equity. I'm in Cali. Does your course work for me? My course works for whether you want to do virtual or local, and I teach you how to find a virtual market, how to find a local market, or if you want to do that, the criteria you should be looking for. And California is a little bit tricky, but I know people who are trying to do it in California with no issues. Kong's script is so good, but he does have one. Does he have one for code violations? So actually, for those who don't know, Kong was my mentor, my direct one-on-one mentor. I paid him, and I could have access to him 24/7. And a lot of my systems and processes are similar to his. I have my own spin and twist on them that I think, makes it better in my eyes. But, he has his own systems, obviously, that's working for him. And I learned a lot of it from him, and I think his systems and his script is great. I've tweaked the script a little bit, so it's very similar to Kong's, but I have a couple psychology different things in there, questions that I ask, and it's, I think both of them are good. And actually, the power of our scripts is you can use it for anything. So whether you're doing it virtual, local, or you're cold calling, or you're doing probates, or you're doing code violations, you open it up the same exact way. So there's no difference there. I hope that answers your question, but there's really no different way. You just say, hey, listen, my name's Alex. I was calling to see if you had a property you'd be interested in selling. Because if you tell them, hey, I know you got a code violation, what's going to happen is they're going to feel like they're being targeted. And then in that aspect, they'll probably hang up and never answer your call again. So be careful of that. That's why I treat every phone call the same. Because if you even have the slight inclination that, you have some information on them, or maybe that, they might think you're targeting, and that becomes very frowned upon in my experience, And so I do use that as a last resort. Like if they don't accept my offer, say, hey, listen, we've done some research. We found out you do have these violations that if you don't pay off, the city's going to put your property up for sale. And instead of just losing the property and making no money, we'd love to put some money in your pockets. So, are you sure you wouldn't consider this amount? And then I'd play it on kind of like that. Like not like we were targeting them from the beginning, but hey, we, through our research, we found this out. Very good question. Very good questions, yes. But yeah. So my course, like I said, it provides everything you need to get started. It gives you like the whole systems, philosophies, and strategies behind everything I do. How do you double close? So Mary, what I would say is I have a video on double closing. I don't know if it's labeled exactly that, but it actually, I think it is. So you can check out that video. And how to filter title companies. I show you how to find those kind of title companies, because that's what it really comes down to. So you got to find a title company who's familiar with assignments as well as double closings. And ideally, you want to find somebody who's able to use the end buyer's funds to process the entire transaction from A to C. So you don't have to put any of your own money into the deal. Because some title companies, what they'll require is you put the money up front. So let's say you're buying a property for $100,000 on contract and you're reselling it or signing it for $110,000. So they'll require you to bring the $100,000, and your end buyer is going to bring $110,000, and then you keep the in between. Now, to avoid that, you got to find a title company who's willing to just use that end buyer's funds, $110,000, to process the entire transaction. And that's what you ideally want to do. If you have to do the first way where you have to fund it yourself, I know what you're thinking is like, hey, you may or may not have that kind of money. I know I didn't when I started out. You find a hard money lender and let them know, hey, I need some overnight cash. Chances are they know exactly what that is. Just let them know what your intentions are. I'm trying to double close. They need this money up front. My end buyer's already got his deposit dropped off, double close contract signed. And then they'll coordinate with the title company, and you don't have to worry about like, hey, if the buyer doesn't pull through, you're stuck with the property. No, the title company is not going to process the transaction, and the hard money lender is probably not going to let it go through. So that's what you do in that situation. And Atlanta is probably one of those markets that you might have to do that. But just because I cold called all the attorneys and title companies there, I think it's an attorney-only state, but I cold call all those in my video on how to filter a title company, and it was like one of the hardest markets to find somebody that was familiar with those transactions. I know it's a numbers game. How many times do you hit the same list? So I used to I kind of hit the whole list until it goes dry, until I get an answer from every single person on that list. That's what I do. So right now, my game plan going into 2021 is to cold call 3 times After that 3 times, I will hit them up on a text message, probably 3 times as well. And then if I don't get them on text, I'll send them a postcard. If I don't get them on postcard, then I'll just restart the process. And I'll probably re-skip trace at that point to see if there's any updated information or anything like that. But I'm looking to get a yes or no on all of my leads. So a lot of times what people do is when they're starting out is they pull a big list and they're not getting any leads from it, so they pull another big list, and there's just so much money inside of those lists that you just have to, the average sale is made on the 5th attempt, of asking somebody, do they want to buy something? And it goes up tremendously the more times you contact them. So like when you get up to the 10, 11, 12th time, that's when the conversion rates really get higher and higher. It's kind of a unicorn in this business to get somebody on the very first phone call who wants to sell. So I wouldn't focus too much on those, and I would try to focus on hitting the list and then narrowing down your list. So you got to keep track of all the numbers you're calling, either through a software like Call Tools, or keeping track of it in your Excel sheets. So when you pull the list, you want to at least put a tag on there that says, hey, I've called this one time. That way you're keeping track of everything, because you don't want to hit the same numbers and not know how many times you hit them. And I wish somebody would have told me that when I first started my business. And it's something I definitely didn't learn through any kind of mentorships or anything. I just, I was told to just call them and, pull a different list, pull a different list. So I would strongly recommend getting organized. Getting organized is huge. If you can do that now and build a great foundation for your business, it's going to be that much easier when you do scale up and when it comes to that time. Is this all making sense to you all? Is this good information, bad information? If it is good information, be sure to smash that thumbs up. That way I know I'm providing some content or value to you all. And these are all great questions so far. I've been very surprised in my live Q&As the last 2 weeks. I've had really great questions. Oh, my little light fell down. Excellent. How often do you hit the same list? So I typically hit the list, if I call them 3 times, or if I call them 1 time, then I'll recycle that campaign. And if I get that entire campaign done in the same week, I'll cold call them the same week. So as soon as I'm done the entire list, I just recycle it and call them all again. Do you purchase a buyer's list? I do not, because there's a ton of ways to get buyers for free. And I would strongly recommend, quality over quantity when it comes to buyer's lists, because a bad buyer can really screw up the deal. And a good buyer can make the deal super easy. I've actually done a deal that took me, I'm not even kidding, 30 minutes of work. Most of that, 20 minutes of that was probably conversating with the seller, negotiating. And the other 10 minutes was me texting my buyer. He drove by it, said he wanted it, and we closed. And I made $5K. It was the super easiest deal because he was a serious buyer. So I would check out my video on how to filter buyers. But I also have a video on how to find buyers on a silver platter through realtors. So I would strongly recommend checking that out because it's free. So, or you can do it through PropStream, which is, that's the only thing I would pay for as far as leads. And that's because of all the tools that PropStream has. Everything that I'm mentioning as far as call tools, PropStream, Deal Machine, I have links in my descriptions for almost all my videos to find, a discounted code or, a discounted link that gives you some kind of benefit as to joining, those programs through my links. So don't forget to check those out if you want to use any of those systems. But yeah, I think they're all great systems. Yeah, realtors are hard. So that's why I go over it in the video, because you come across 90% of realtors who have no ideas, who, knows what wholesaling is, or, assignment of contracts, things like that. So 90% of them are going to have no idea what you're talking about. And so for that reason, it turns people off to go to them, but they're actually one of the best lead sources for finding buyers. and that's how I closed my first deal ever. It was $65,000, and I had a realtor bring me the buyer. I paid him $13,000, so it was actually like $78,000 wholesale. But I was glad to pay him, $13,000 for bringing me the buyer. And it takes a lot of the headache away, especially realtors, because a lot of times they don't care how much you're making. They only care about making a certain amount, or just whatever their goal is to list it on the back end. It's really good. I tried. He asked for proof of funds and asked if I was an So, are you talking about on the seller side? It sounds like you're talking about the seller side. I'm talking about realtors for buyers, finding buyers via realtors for your deals. Yeah, okay. So it sounds like you're talking about on the seller's end. You're negotiating with a realtor. Because there's no reason why an agent bringing a buyer would ask you for proof of funds. They should be asking their buyer for proof of funds. That just doesn't make sense. But okay. Yeah, so if they're asking for proof of funds, and if they're asking if you're a wholesaler, I think I mentioned this in my last Q&A, but don't ever advertise that you're a wholesaler. I would, even my buyers I talk to, I don't tell them I'm a wholesaler. I say, hey, listen, my partner and I fix and flip in the area, and sometimes we can't, keep on to everything we market for, so we offload the other stuff for cash. In this case, we are wholesaling this property. Would you be interested? It doesn't come across as, oh, these guys are strictly wholesalers, because what that tells them, especially like realtors like that, is you're either just getting into the business or you're not serious in real estate investing. And that's just because the whole wave of new people getting into this business. And so people are turned off by that. And that's why I don't advertise that I'm a wholesaler ever. And I would never mention that. And no matter what, remember, you have a partner. Even if it's, again, like if it's the dust bunny that's in your corner of your room, that's your partner. And you always have to go through your partner before you make a decision. That way, there's no friction between you and the seller or you and the buyer. And that's how you become an expert negotiator. I'm not getting a whole lot of likes on this video, so I don't know if I'm providing value to you all. If I'm providing any value, smash that thumbs up. I'm trying to spread this channel, spread this awareness, because we're going to get a lot of regulation inside of this business as far as wholesaling. If somebody doesn't step up and teach people, the ins and outs of what to do and what not to do, because we don't want to have something where the government steps in and says, hey, now you have to be licensed, or now the government's telling us how to do our business. And we're in the business of buying houses. If we wanted to be in the business of having the seller's best interest at heart, then we would be realtors, because they have that fiduciary duty, which means they have to have the best interest of the seller in mind legally. As wholesalers, we do not. And it's not that we want to be, misleading or anything like that, but we're in the business of making money and solving problems. And if we don't have a mutual benefit, then, we have to move on to the next lead. And so I blame TikTok. Yeah, that's a big reason. You got a lot of younger people get into it. And I don't have anything against young people. I actually applaud them, because I got into this business at like 26. And I wish I would have known, real estate or anything about this whenever I was younger. So you should create a WTF merch. I just plugged you in for next week and noticed that you have under Alex. I have you under Alex. Yep, I would. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about that as a thing, because WTF, people think, what the fuck? Whenever you're out and about, you can tell them, hey, it's for wholesale freedom. My time is limited right now, so I could probably put in about 10 to 14 hours a week. If I'm making 4 offers a week, do you think it is fair to say I could close one deal per month? First off, that's a two-part thing I want to answer. So 10 to 14 hours a week is phenomenal. I think that's amazing. I think that's a lot of time to put towards your business, because I teach as long as you can have 1 hour a day, that, it's not going to get you one deal per month, but that'll keep you on track to keep your business going. So if you're going 10 to 14 hours a week, you're going to get there that much faster. 4 offers a week will get you around, 16 offers a month. And typically, the average conversion in this industry is 50 offers equals one contract. Or 50 leads. So leads are people who say yes, equals one contract. And out of those, leads, and out of those contracts, it usually like 2 to 3 of them before they go to closing. That's the average. So that's not to say that that's how it is in every business. Like I would say a majority of the properties I put under contract close, but it's a numbers game. So I would say the goal would probably be to make at least 10 to 15 offers a week if you can. If you're shooting below that and you're still working the 10 to 14 hours, don't get discouraged. Have the mindset that, you're not going to get one per month, but you're going to get there no matter what it takes, whether it's going to be 10 months, 12 months. Because a lot of people, they see TikTok and they're like, hey, I'm going to get a deal in the first month. They see my video, Alex made $65,000 on his first deal. What they don't know is I had 9 months of consistent marketing before I got that deal. So I would look at it as, hey, I'm going to market for this entire year. I'm going to set aside X amount of dollars for marketing for my business and set aside X amount of time to make this work. At that point, at 12 months, I'll reassess everything I've done for this year. And if there's anything that's not working, I'll fix it and make it work for the next 12 months. You see how that mindset is way different than, hey, I'm going to try to get one deal a month, because you're going to get 6 months in potentially and not have a deal, and you're going to get discouraged. I would just aim to put out the numbers. So I'm going to aim for 50 calls per day, or I'm going to aim for 2 hours per day cold calling, whatever it may be. Start small, and then you can always, if you feel like it, do more. So that's why I say an hour a day, hour or two a day. Start off with an hour, and if you feel like going longer in that day, boom, you have it. You can go another 2 hours if you want. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense for you, Josh. It's catchy, WTF. That's the goal. Okay, gotcha. Good perspective. Yeah, I see what you mean. Perfect. Yeah, as much as, I want to say, hey, you can get this deal in the first month, and you can absolutely do that. My first month of working for somebody else wholesaling, I had 3 deals under contract, but I cold called 600 people in the first 2 weeks. And that was before I found out there was auto dialers. So I took massive action, had no idea what I was doing. The guys just gave me a paper to fill out with some information. They didn't even tell me how to use the paper, or, let alone how to use the script or lack of script. And I just went out there and I just collected this information. I didn't know how to handle objections, so a lot of my phone calls were bad. But out of the 600 people, I got 3 deals or 3 contracts. So for somebody like me who has no idea what they were doing when they started out, making 600 calls, after, the first dozen calls, you get over the fear of rejection. And then after that, you kind of notice patterns, behaviors. You kind of notice the same objections. And then you think about, well, shoot, how do I solve that? And then you learn to overcome those. So write down any objections you come across and research on how to overcome that, or think about it, after the phone call. So you really use this time to just take action and learn from the mistakes afterwards. A lot of people think, I got to get all this information, I got to get all the right stuff before I get started. It's never going to happen. You're never going to get started doing it that way. Just go out there and fail forward, and fail often. My biggest successes came from failures. My first deal I ever did by myself for $65,000, I lost my first buyer for that. And so I consider that a failure. I had one shot, or at least I thought I had one shot to show the property, and I used it on a buyer who wasn't serious. And I ended up making $65,000 from it still. So, that's one of the biggest failures I can think of, and still coming out on top on it. I'm also limited on time. I'm starting with SMS blast and cold call as time permits me. I have a 4-year-old son at home, elderly parents I visit to make sure they are okay. Time is an issue for me. Yeah, so SMS blast is a great way, especially if your time, restricted. Again, if you can do it 1 hour a day and just stay consistent at it, I think you'll have results in that first 12 months. Um, and I know that sounds like, oh yeah, if you do it for a year, of course you're going to have results. Well, that's the whole philosophy. You keep going, and then once you have the money to invest in more marketing and more, buying more of your time, maybe leaving your job, whatever it may be, that's the goal, right? Because you don't want to quit your job and have no income. But I completely understand, Gabriel. I have a 4-year-old daughter and I have a 4-month-old son. And this past year with coronavirus, my business took a huge hit, both in my time and in the income, because I had several deals, over $100,000 worth of deals, fall through because things were hitting the fan. And that's not an excuse. I learn now to adapt and change my business with how things are going. And a lot of people, they lost their business. So very fortunate to be where I'm at, even with the time constraints and trying to be the best parent I can be. So it is a balance that you have to walk. But if you're single, don't have anybody, at home that, requires your attention and time, then right now is the best time to get into real estate, to really invest, make those mistakes, go out there and take chances. But for those like Gabriel and I who have children or a family, I'm proof that you can do it. So whether or not you say you have time, they're both right. Have you done any short sales? And regardless, is there a good way to practice target repair so I can have a little experience before a possible increase in foreclosures and pre-foreclosures? I actually bought my own personal house that I'm in right now through a short sale. That's probably the only short sale that I've done, and it took us over a year. And that's typical of short sales, to be that long. That's for that reason I don't really recommend it, but you can always target whatever you want. Is there a good way to practice target so I can have a little experience before the possible increase of... Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so Josh, right now, get on the phones. Get on the phones, talk to as many sellers as possible. That is the best practice and the best way you can prepare. Because let's just say you do cold call 600 people in the first 2 weeks like I did, you're going to learn very quickly how to talk to people and how to pick up on certain behaviors. Because when you repeat something and you have repeated behaviors, you start to adapt the way you handle things. And you can do that, like I said, in the first 2 weeks. And we're not going to have this wave of foreclosures anytime soon, in my belief. And the reason why is because the president who's coming in the office, I don't think he's going to expedite that process at all. If not, he's going to delay it, if anything. And for that reason, I don't think the real estate market's going to catch up necessarily anytime soon. So if you can do it now in the worst and hardest time of wholesaling history, in my opinion, then you can do it whenever that's going to happen. Because right now I consider wholesaling to be, before, like maybe 2 years ago, you could contact 20 people to get a lead, and now you have to contact, twice, if not 3 times as many people, because not only the amount of people getting it on TikTok, learning about this business, but you have, just so many people contacting these sellers. So it's really just taking action, going out there and trying to contact as many people as you can. You'll get better through practice. And so I wouldn't really worry about doing it the right way right now. You will find that out as you go. And your conversion rate. So if I were to call that same 600 people right now, I probably could get at least 4 to 5 contracts out of that. Whereas before, I only got 3 from one seller. So I converted one seller out of 600. What do you consider high equity? 40% to 99% equity. 100% equity is considered a whole different list. In my opinion, it's called free and clear. And I target them separately. So 40% equity to 99%, because we need 30% for our end buyers to make any money. And then we also need some buffer for the repairs and for our fees. So that's where I target 40%. Does that make sense? And Josh, does that make sense for how I answer your question? Man, we've already been on 35 minutes, and I thought it's only been 10. This is going by quick. Getting a lot of great questions, a ton of value. Whoever watches this is going to get a ton of value. And it's all because you all are asking great questions. And that's why I want to spread this channel and grow it as much as I can, because I don't want to be regulated in my business. Yes, sir. This Q&A is awesome, bro. I appreciate that, man, from the bottom of my heart. Every time I get a like or a subscribe from you all, it just makes my day. And also these comments, so I appreciate that. Favorite marketing strategy? Rami or Romy, I don't know how to pronounce that, but I hope I'm saying it right. My favorite marketing strategy is cold calling. And that's because not a lot of people like to cold call, one. And if you do scale up, cold calling is one of those active marketing methods that you go out there and you get what you want. You know, you can get as many leads as you want because you're putting in the effort and time. And when you go to scale up, that's the easiest way for your newest member of the team to learn the script or to learn the process of how to talk to sellers, because the only way to grow and learn is to be putting yourself in the fire. Trial by fire is what I like to call it. And putting the employee or, you know, the person under you, under your wing, in front of the sellers is the quickest way for them to learn. Because you can train with them all day, but until they get on the phone with a live call, they're going to have no idea how to do it. I gotta run, LOL. Love your content. Love to hear about your successes, and it seems like your experience has skyrocketed. Hey, Josh, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's been a blessing and a tremendous learning experience this past couple years even, and I'm still learning every day. So I'm not an expert, but I've been around the block. So, and I continue to learn from people. Even the experts nowadays, they continue to learn from others, and that's why they go to masterminds. So nobody's at the top. I need a merch hat, WTF. Oh, man, you're going to pressure me into getting this set up. I'll rock the WTF hat with you. I like that. I got a Wholesale to Freedom t-shirt. It's spelled out, and it's got my Instagram and YouTube on it, but don't have any WTFs right now. It's funny. But I'm probably going to wrap this thing up around 1:45 Eastern Standard, so that gives us about 8 more minutes. Did you guys have any other questions? If I had $1,400 to start, what softwares would you get and marketing strategies would you do? So that's a great question. I would save that $1,400 and spread that across the entire year. So you can do this the free way or you can do it the paid way. I have a whole video that breaks that down, and you can kind of decide which one's best for you. But if you're asking for my best opinion, I would get a Google Voice number that's absolutely free. And well, first off, again, you have to ask yourself, how much time do you have to spend on this? If you have a couple hours a day, that's one thing. If you have no time or little time, that's another. And so you gotta if as you get less time, you have to put in more money to put out the marketing, or if you put in the time and energy, you can do it a little bit more cost efficiently. So if you're doing it the cost efficient method, what I would suggest is to save that money. Maybe get an investor carrot website. It's a pre-built website where it says I buy houses. That's how I got my first deal. Another of time. Okay. Yeah, I would get an investor carrot website that says I buy houses. Oh, so you have a lot of time. Perfect. So what I would do is I would get a Google Voice number, and I would pull a list either from PropStream, or you can go to ListSource and pay like $100 to $200 for a whole high equity list in the market that you're going into. Or you can do driving for dollars virtually, either through Google Street View. I have a whole video on that. Or you could do it You could do it just walking around looking for houses that are distressed. Take down the addresses and then go to truepeoplesearch.com. If you want the list handed to you on a silver platter, that's where you go to ListSource or PropStream to get that big list, and then you can skip trace them using True People Search, or you can go out and get the super targeted properties by driving for dollars, biking for dollars, walking for dollars, or just doing Google Street View for dollars, whatever it may be, and go to truepeoplesearch.com, type in the address, and if you have the owner's name by looking up the tax record, type in the owner's name, and through that method, I've been able to find every person whose numbers came back as nothing for the skip traces. I've been able to find them through True People Search, either calling all the relatives or calling them directly. There's numbers for everybody on there. It's amazing how much free information's out there. So through True People Search, you can find their phone numbers, you can find their relatives, and the relatives usually have their phone numbers. If True People Search doesn't come up with anything, another great one is advancedbackgroundchecks.com. All of it's free. So, and then get on the phones and call them. That is my suggestion. So the investor carrot is $50 a month. That would get you, so 50 times 12, I believe is 600. So that would get you, $600 marketing for the entire year, and it's consistent marketing on the internet. You have a website that's built. You can spend $600 of that for the entire year for that. And then you could spend the $100 to $200 on the entire high equity list, which should give you enough leads for the entire year. And then you can get the Google Voice to call, or you can get a dialer, but the dialers are usually around around $100 to $200 a month. So you have to decide, do you want a dialer that dials through these numbers, or do you want to cold call them one by one? My suggestion is to do it one by one, and just as soon as you hang up the phone, if it's not a lead or if nothing came out of it, boom, call the next one. Boom, call the next one. I mean, it takes me to find the numbers that don't come back on the skip traces. If I skip trace something and nothing comes back from it, it usually takes me about 30 minutes to an hour to find that person, either through their relatives or through, the actual person. But it's those leads that nobody's targeting because they have to do all that work to find them through True People Search, like I was mentioning. Wu-Tang, does that answer your question? But I think cold calling is the best entry method to get into this, or sending direct mail. You can get the Deal Machine app that I have the link in my description. You get some money towards, just signing up. You get it's like almost 100 free skip traces just for signing up, and you can get up to 15 mailers. So you can do your driving for dollars. It takes down the address. It even pulls up the homeowner's information. So that's $50 a month as well. And you can just drive for dollars, find all these addresses, look up the information on Deal Machine. It gives it all to you on a silver platter. And you can pay like 15, 17 cents to skip trace them. And then, or you can do it for free. Just, export the list and then do it all through True People Search for free. So there's a ton of ways, they say there's a million ways to skin a cat. It's the same thing in this business. And it just depends on how much energy, effort you want to put into it. But both of those methods are extremely targeted, and I think that's one of the best ways. What is your plans on cold calling? What do you mean by that, Mary? Or Mari? I might make a video on that, on how, if you had $1,000 to start, what would you do? I think I might make a video on that. It's a good idea. I'm going to write that down. Very good idea. Thanks, brother. This was great Q&A. Hey, no problem, Gabriel. All right, I'm going to open it up for any last minute questions. I'm probably going to end it here in about a minute or two. But I did want to ask if anybody had any last minute questions. All great questions, by the way. And again, if you haven't already, smash that thumbs up. Subscribe down below. I do this every week just for you guys. I completely lay everything out on the table. holding nothing back, just like in my videos. And if you have any video suggestions, I'm open for that as well. My plan is to grow this channel as big as it can get so I can help as many people as we can. That way this business does not get regulated as much as it needs to be. And, we can still be free to do whatever we want in this business and do it ethically and make money. So that way people who are getting started with little to no money like myself can still get into this business, because that's why wholesaling is so great. It can be not so great for the homeowners if not done correctly, like we've seen people losing their houses and stuff from wholesalers making empty promises. But we can learn, grow, and we can ultimately solve people's problems and make money for it, because that's where the money is. It's not from flipping contracts, it's from solving problems. But it does not look like we have any other questions at the moment, so I just want to say thank you all for your time today watching this Q&A. It means the world to me. I hope you all have a safe and productive rest of your week. And as always, any comments, questions you have, put them in the comments section of any of my videos. I will personally respond to each one. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Take care.